Hey, well, good afternoon. My name is Cassandra Berry, and I am a community educator with Denton County Friends of the Family. I also facilitate a program titled Our Community Matters, where I do targeted outreach within the African American community because of the occurrences of domestic violence exceeds that of our other ethnic counterparts. This is our 40th year anniversary. Of course, we're celebrating it and acknowledging it very differently than we thought because of COVID-19. But because we do provide an essential function, um, we are open and we are still providing services to our clients. And all of our services to our clients are free, um, with the exception of one. And so our mission is to provide compassionate and comprehensive services to those impacted by domestic violence, abuse, and sexual assault. And we do that by partnering with others in the community, to include volunteers, to include the universities, to include the businesses. And we promote safety, hope, healing, justice, and prevention to our clients. We have several positions open, to include what's called a residential advocate. And what they do is help provide services to our residents within shelter, as well as those moving into transitional housing. We have a housing navigator position open, a victim services specialist. Within the department I work, which is prevention, education, and awareness, we have a bilingual community educator. There's a program for which there is a fee, and that's for the persons who are the perpetrators, the abusers, and they have to pay to go through that. And they're typically there as a result of being required to go through 30 weeks of psychoeducational classes from either their probation officer, maybe a judge ordered it, maybe their attorney thought that as a good way to start addressing accountability for their actions, to go through that program. We have a male mentor position available, and that male mentor helps with our children that are in the shelter. And then we have a crisis intervention specialist. Most of our positions require bachelors with preference in social work, psychology, counseling, as well as criminal justice. And with regard to those positions, we also would prefer that they have some experience, but it's not completely required. And so someone who per se is a criminal justice major, they may serve well to be within our legal services office or with our advocates, because they help our clients with filling out protective orders, completing paperwork for crime victims compensation, accompanying our clients to the courthouse for any legal hearings that they have to do, maybe helping to understand any criminal reports that have been filed. Of course, our social work majors, they can work almost within any capacity. The one that has more strict limitations are those which are in counseling, because they provide, under the supervision of staff for the agency, direct counseling services, not only to our clients, but also what we call secondary victims, and most of those are children. And we have a children counseling session as well. So we have some positions open now. We are an essential function, and would welcome the students, going to our website page, and at the bottom of it, where it says career opportunities, those positions are listed there.
Perfect. And in addition, Cassandra, to fuller part-time positions, does your organization offer internships to our students?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We're only a staff of a little over 70 people, and we serve all of Denton County, which is in excess of almost 800,000 people. And so it's critical that we provide opportunities for internships. And so within any of our departments, internships are available. We've had interns from even the College of Business, those who are in marketing, maybe those who are in careers to do training and development within our department, and working with our marketing department as well. Most of our interns are in the counseling positions, but based on where we have a need within the agency, almost any discipline would be eligible for consideration for an internship.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for having us.
Charlie, do you want to follow up?
Sure. Just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Charlie. I'm with the U.S. Secret Service here in Dallas. For people that don't know, our agency does both investigative and protection. Some of the investigative crimes that we do are cyber fraud, bank fraud, money laundering, check fraud, counterfeiting. Some of the protection that we do, as most people know us, we do the protection of the president, vice president. We do heads of state. We also secure what we call national special security events. And those are like the Olympics, the United Nations, the RNC, the DNC inaugurations. Some of the other things we do is we also protect right now we're gearing up for campaign. So we also protect the candidates. There's a special criteria that needs to be met both through Congress and DHS in order to provide protection for those candidates. Some of the positions that we're hiring for, we currently have a large opening for the special agent position, and we also have a uniform division. Those are the most prevalent positions that are open right now. Some of the other positions that we also have chemists that work in our forensics labs. We just recently hired a number of former people in the military that were air traffic controllers. So we also monitor airspace for airspace security. We hire mechanics because a lot of our fleet vehicles are specialized vehicles that require services. We also have a lot of criminal intelligence analysts that also does both on the protection side as well as the criminal side as far as analyzing intelligence information. We also have what we call other APT staff, which are investigative analysts that help out special agents when they do do administrative work as far as the cases, as far as time sheets. So some of the requirements in order to be a special agent is basically we're looking for someone with pretty much, it's not a requirement, but we are typically, the people that we hire are typically have a bachelor's degree. It doesn't really matter on what type of field that you have. We're looking for people with job experience that are that have typically what we hire is about a minimum of 3 years of full-time work experience, because we want to see what type of work history you have. As far as the types of jobs that we're looking for that people are in, it's a whole variety as well as degrees. So we've hired people that have accounting degrees, law degrees, people that were engineers. So it doesn't matter the type of degree that you have, as long as you have a bachelor's degree. As far as the uniform division, that's pretty much like our police force of the Secret Service. They typically, their duties are is they typically guard the White House. They also guard what we call the Naval Observatories, which is the Vice President's residence. And they also, one of our duties is actually foreign missions. So they'll actually patrol the foreign missions in the DC area, the embassies. They also have full police powers in the Washington, D.C. area, as well as their federal authority under. And that's pretty much it. If anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer any.
Absolutely. Thank you, Charlie. A few minutes to introduce yourself.
Sure, absolutely. My name is Rikus Jones. I'm with the Garland Police Department. Garland, if they're unfamiliar with Garland, we're in the Metroplex. We're the second largest city in Dallas County, right behind the city of Dallas, of course. Population about 250,000 people, encompasses about 57 square miles. So we're located in the Metroplex. Obviously, we hire police officers, but there's also civilian positions within the police department we hire for. For example, what we call a public safety dispatcher. That's essentially your cross-train and 911 call take, police radio dispatch, and fire radio dispatch. We also have recent positions as a crime analyst and also position as a public and media specialist. So crime analyst deals a lot with data as it regards to crime. and the public and media relations specialists. They're part of our community relations team with all the social media platforms. They're responsible of building a brand for our agency, both on the on the social media side, and as well as attending engagements, community engagements and meetings of that sort. Also, so I do a lot of my main specific job. I serve as a recruiter, but I'm assigned to the training academy as well. So I facilitate some of the training. But I also encourage individuals who may not have an interest to say work with the police department to visit the City of Garland website because we have several jobs there, particularly when it comes to public employees. The City of Garland obviously is a government entity, so there's plenty of jobs there. So I refer them to the website as well and try to be a good resource for them as far as putting them in contact with the right people if they have some other interests besides working with the police.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Ryan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Ryan Dersham. I'm the National Recruiting Manager for VRC Investigations. We're headquarters there in Denton, Texas, right over kind of near the UNT admin buildings, actually, in the same parking lot. We're a nationwide private investigations firm. So what we do is we work for all the major insurance companies in the United States, and we work with them to combat insurance fraud. We have multiple different types of units and divisions within the company. Mainly at our headquarters there, we're going to have desktop investigators, and we have our administrative support people. We have our hospital canvas department. We have production. There's a lot of different departments within our headquarters there. Currently, we're mainly looking for our desktop investigators. Definitely hire and have a lot of UNT graduates there in our desktop investigations unit. It's kind of a good launching point, especially for somebody looking to get in investigations. They're kind of doing the online investigations part of insurance fraud. They're digging through social media. They're doing background checks, asset checks, skip traces, those type of things. Very good learning position, good starting position to get in this industry. We also have our canvas unit open. Our hospital canvas unit's hiring right now also. They're assisting the insurance agencies or insurance departments and stuff like that with seeing if people have been seen at certain doctors' offices or going to gyms and have memberships and stuff like that, and they're kind of investigating and looking into that. Our admins are also usually always hiring also. They're kind of our gurus, as you can put it, I guess, because they kind of know how every one of our investigative departments do their jobs and how they do their reports and everything. So they're the only ones in the whole company actually that know how to do everybody's investigative reports and everything. So they kind of learn it all. I've had a lot of our administrative assistants, or support employees move in through a desktop investigations and do other departments of the company. Another good starting point for the company. We do have surveillance investigators also across the United States. We do have some in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Don't believe we have any current openings for surveillance investigators. What they are is they go out and conduct surveillance on individuals that have filed claims with the insurance companies, and we're out there just working for the insurance companies, seeing if they're following the restrictions, doing everything they're supposed to be doing. So we're kind of just following them around and getting video footage of them. As far as our SIU department, we have those in all 50 states also here in Dallas-Fort Worth. That's kind of something everybody, especially our surveillance and desktop aspire to get to. That's our special investigations unit. They're doing more of the in-depth investigations as far as major thefts, burglaries, arsons, and those type of things that have been filed with claims as insurance companies, more or less a detective for the insurance company instead of the private side. Again, we're here in Denton, so it's really easy. We have our website's vrcinvestigations.com. You can go in there and check out our careers and what positions are open and apply there. Same kind of restrictions. They're not restrictions, but standards we're looking for is everybody else's kind of the bachelor's degree. It doesn't ultimately matter what it is, and because again we have multiple different departments within that headquarters. So typically we will look for criminal justice degrees as far as our desktop investigators go and stuff like that. But again, I've hired people that just don't have that degree and they just seem to be a good fit. So it doesn't have to be a specific degree that you have to apply at our company at all. There's plenty of positions.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate it. Jennifer?
I'm Jennifer Archer, and I work with the Arlington Police Department. We are actually hiring 4 police officers right now. We are in the Metroplex. We like to say between Dallas and Fort Worth, the biggest city between the two, probably the only one. But We are hiring for police officers for an academy in October and then possibly January, just kind of depends on the budget. We do require a 4-year bachelor's degree in any discipline. We're not picky. We have our own academy. We put you through that academy. You get paid while you're in our academy. It's roughly 32 weeks. And then after that, it's field training for 18 weeks. So you're in training for almost a whole year minus 2 weeks. We are not civil service, so we do not have a test that you have to take. It's more of a panel interview process to get you started. There are 3 panel members. They ask you questions that they ask every applicant. It takes about 45 minutes. If you pass that, you go on to our physical agility. After passing the physical agility, you move on to the next phase, which is our polygraph, psychological, and medical phases. After that, you would go on to the background investigation, and then after that, you would go to our final oral board. You can find our application online, and then I know Garland mentioned that they hire other positions too for the police department. We do as well. There's detention officers, records. We do not do dispatch and police at our city. That's on fires level, but you would go to the City of Arlington website there to find those types of jobs as well. I would say many of those are not really hiring right now, unfortunately, because of COVID, but we are still hiring for the police department.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Courtney, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Courtney Cross. I'm the Director of Mental Health and Housing with United Way of Denton County. Our mission is to improve lives in Denton County, and we have 4 core pillars around which we engage in kind of macro community development type work. And those are children and families, veterans, people experiencing homelessness, and people impacted by mental health. And so we love our interns. We are down the road from UNT, and we have had all kinds of interns. We've had social work, health studies, business, nonprofit management, emergency management. We always have different projects going on. We have some collective impact initiatives in each of those 4 areas. So we have a lot of partnerships in the community. A lot of the kind of direct service community facing projects and programs that we engage in are often kind of at the incubator level. So it's usually a project that maybe hasn't existed in our community before, or there hasn't been a lot of capacity around. And so we engage with partners to develop and implement new programs and initiatives. And then often those are kind of picked up and find a permanent home with a community partner here in the county. And so we have rolling internships. We'll take anyone at any time for class credit or not for class credit. You can go to unitedwaydenton.org/internships. So we have some kind of programmatic facing internships, like I mentioned, in kind of macro community development and nonprofit programs and that sort of thing. We also have internship opportunities on our resource development or fundraising side and marketing. We engage a lot of marketing, business, nonprofit management interns in that way as well. We work with a lot of community partners, from law enforcement to local government to other nonprofits to business to healthcare. And we have been known to hire our own interns. If they've created a project that has turned into a paid position. And a lot of times our interns go on to find employment with a community partner that they've been working with while interning with us. So would be happy to talk with anyone about interest in internships with us. And we are occasionally hiring as well, which you can also find on our website.
Perfect. Thank you. Have I missed any employers? Oh, hi, Maribel. I didn't recognize the name, so I apologize.
Yeah. I'm having issues with my computer, so I just have audio up. My name is Maribel Mejia. I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator for the City of Fort Worth. And we're currently, as you all know, in the midst of COVID operations. So our Emergency Operations Center is currently at a level 1 full EOC activation, kind of in a various forms, just because it is a pandemic operation. So we have definitely people here in our Emergency Operations Center, as well as about 50 or 60 people supporting our operations remotely. We are a joint emergency operations center, so not only do we do it for Fort Worth, but we have our Tarrant County partners activated alongside us, as well as our disaster district, DPS disaster district, here with us. So we're able to handle all the issues, working the different requests. We're working 12 different key mission tasks right now. Anywhere from alternate care site planning, looking at different hospital sites that we can activate if needed, coordinating some testing operation centers, looking to get some new testing centers open next week. We're working with hospitals, nursing homes, group homes to distribute needed PPE or education. We work with our Joint Information Center here to get products out. I'm sure you've seen on social media, next door, robocalls. We work very closely with our mayor's office and judge's office to get the needed communication out to our community. So it's been a very busy past few months. We've been at some level of activation since February. Because we did get a big amount of CARES Act funding, we've been able to hire actually some UNT students for some temporary positions through the end of this year. And if needed, depending on operations, we could have some additional openings. I know the city has frozen hiring for now, but I do have 3 positions within my Office of Emergency Management that hopefully will be coming open, and I can fill those in. People that we hire, again, mainly emergency management majors, although we have hired public administration, criminal justice, GIS. Our staff handles emergency planning and disaster response. So anything from emergency plans, hospital coordination, EOC technology. We have a lot of mass notification systems, a lot of different systems as we get in all the data. So IT type people are very welcome. And then we also administer the Homeland Security grants for our city. So I do have about 4 or 5 people in the finance department to help administer those grants.
Now it looks like we might have 2 students in the room, and ask any questions. Introduce yourself, tell the employers about your major and the type of career that you're interested in.
So hello, my name is Lizette, and I'm a integrative studies major. My main concentrations are business communication and journalism. I'm a transfer from California, and I'm actually looking into an internship or possibly a part-time or full-time job. Right now I'm in Houston, but I'll be moving to Denton in August since I couldn't get out of my lease. But yeah, I'm definitely open to, I was looking into mainly management, but I would like to have more of an open view. I apologize, but an open view as to all the possibilities in Denton. I'm actually new to Texas, but I was definitely interested in United Way. I'm not sure if he's still here. I believe that was Courtney, but I did want to ask what was the email for the Denton. There you go, the Denton website.
Yeah, so our website is unitedwaydenton.org. And you're welcome to email me. My email is Courtney, COURTNEY. I'll put it in the chat too.
Okay, thank you.
unitedwaydenton.org.
Alrighty, perfect. Okay. Alrighty, thank you. I'll definitely be emailing you.
Great.
Thank you, Lizette.
Thank you.
Are there any other students that have questions for the panel?
One of the questions that we get a lot from students outside of their degree, whether they're criminal justice or emergency management, what kind of practical work experience would help set them out, apart from other candidates? If they were going to strategically look for jobs or volunteer opportunities, what things could they do to put them in better position to land a full-time job in your industries?
We're good with people doing an independent research on what the cause of domestic violence and sexual assault is, having an understanding of maintaining confidentiality, because even for our volunteers, they have to agree to confidentiality such that once they step on our property, everything that they see is something for which they can have a conversation that attaches specific names. The ability to work with individuals one-on-one, have somewhat of a customer service type attitude, because a person who's gone through trauma, especially those working with victims, is very critical that our motto is understood and communicated, in that we start by believing. And so it's important to have that kind of customer service, compassion component. People who have volunteered with other groups and agencies, those are seen favorable on an application. We appreciate people who or sometimes our positions require someone to be bilingual, but definitely if you're not bilingual, have cultural humility and cultural competency understanding, because of the background of not only our clients, but the people with whom they will work. Within our resident, in our shelter, we want people who have had some experience working with children, even if that includes, doing private babysitting, because sometimes those services include providing childcare to the children of our clients. And so those are the type of things that outside of the degrees that we look at on an application.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to share?
I can. I think an internship is always great. It shows that you've got, some professional experience. It's not always possible for everyone because folks have to work. And so a lot of nonprofit internships don't pay. And so I think if someone is able to kind of, on their resume, really clarify, not with too many words, because if it's too lengthy, people will put it down, but to clarify, what your customer experience has been, for example, or if you worked in an environment and they can say, hey, I worked retail for this amount of time and I put in some new processes that didn't exist before I got there. Really being mindful of what the position is you're applying for and being able to kind of tailor your resume and your cover letter to that position. If you have one success story that you share for every cover letter, it kind of shows. But if you tweak your cover letter and your resume to kind of explain in more detail what it is about your experience that applies to the position that you're applying for, that usually stands out for us. And I would have to agree with what Cassandra said about just being, especially if you're going to go into kind of client services, obviously being trauma informed and culturally competent and all that sort of stuff. If you're getting in a nonprofit, sometimes it's helpful if you can show that you've got a knowledge base of the organizations and needs of the community. So you can show that through volunteering. If you can't intern, maybe you can volunteer, on the weekends or something like that. Being able to show that you're kind of engaged in the community and somewhat knowledgeable is always helpful.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's so unfortunate because a lot of students lost their internship this summer due to COVID. So would anybody else like to piggyback off of what either Cassandra or Courtney has said?
Sure, I can real quick. As far as VRC investigations go, our desktop investigations and admins and stuff like that, I'm hiring them honestly just after they graduate from college. I even have a lot of desktop investigators before and administrative support that are currently with you guys. They're at UT and attending UT, and we do a really good job of trying to work with full-time even caseloads and class loads and stuff like that, so that they can attend school and work for us full-time. All our positions are full-time. There is no part-time positions in our office, so all of them are full-time with medical, dental, vision, 401k, PTO, and everything like that. Like I said, with our desktop investigations, what it is really is it's a good leap and jump and start for somebody. They just graduated college with their criminal justice degree and they're trying to find that first job to get their career started. And that's what that's what a lot of our desktop investigations unit is finding that first investigative job. I'm hiring them directly, just graduating in December or something like that, and they haven't even had any other experience yet. I'm okay with that. I'm gonna give them that start and, kind of give them that jump start to their career and learning how to do investigations. Our surveillance investigators in the area, and across the United States, I'm of course looking for that degree. Does it have to be criminal justice? No. I mean, is it somewhat similar? Sometimes, yes. But a lot of the times I'm also looking that they've done maybe some loss prevention, law enforcement, security, even, any type of those jobs that have kind of helped them build those skills to kind of be very observant in their jobs, because being a surveillance investigator is obviously a very observant position. So I'm kind of looking for those things, and like as far as a surveillance investigator goes. But our desktop investigations and admins and stuff, we really try to, do the best we can to help these individuals that are just graduating from college, give them that first jump start into their career of investigations and give them that opportunity, even if they've never done anything like this before.
Right. And that's great to know, because right after May, when students graduated, I had an influx of students make appointments with me, because especially those who are criminal justice majors, sure, there's a large percentage of those students who go into criminal justice because they know they want to go into law enforcement. That's the end goal. But there are a lot of students who will come to me and say, I've got my degree in criminal justice, but what else can I do with it besides become an officer? So, it's great hearing about some of these other opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I was in law enforcement for over a decade, and I'd never even heard of this industry. So it's one of those things. Yeah, you go through. I've talked about this with a lot of the applicants. Actually, I've hired probably about 4 or 5 UNT graduates within just the last couple months here. We talk about that. They'll say that they've gone to their classes there, and that the criminal justice course is really focused on law enforcement. And they don't ever hear anything like this in their classes. That there is these other type of industries and fields that you can utilize your investigations and criminal justice skills in. And like I said, even me doing law enforcement over a decade, I'd never even heard of it until I got into it myself. So it's just
Right.
one of those ones that's kind of hidden out there. And yeah, I mean, love to find ways to be able to kind of get out there more and stuff. Because like I said, a lot of these students I talk to say they don't ever hear about it in their classes. It's all more focused on law enforcement type stuff.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Would anybody else like to share?
Well, one thing I want to say is to your students is whatever job that they decide to get after college, get the most out of that job. Get as much experience as you can, get as much knowledge as you can from that job. Because when you sit down with us, we're going to ask you those questions as far as the interview process, which is a very important process of our application. A lot of people that fail the process is because they don't have enough experience, or it's the character that they didn't build at that last job. For instance, we'll ask a lot of times, give us an example of, like when you were in a team, and how did you interact with other coworkers? How did you interact with difficult coworkers? How did you get the project done? I mean, did you meet those deadlines? I mean, those are the things that we're going to ask you, and we're going to see whether or not you're self-motivated to do things when times are difficult. So the application process is an important part of our process. So what I want to instill to your students is, hey, get the most out of whatever job you have. Do as much as you can. Do a good job, because we're going to ask you about those questions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And if I may add as well, out of every employer that I think, had a forum here today, is one of the things that you constantly have to do is interact with people. We live in a different generation, a different time where technology has, basically taken over our life. And not saying that's a bad thing, but, as far as communicating with people verbally, where a lot of times there's a lot of text messages, sending emails, and having that communication skill, it's a great skill to have, but also just that verbal skill, how to talk to people, how to deal with people. I think that's also important, and as well as character, judgment. Every employer that came up, character is important, keeping confidentiality is important. So having your students understand that's extremely important as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, Jennifer had talked about their hiring process. Does anybody else want to share what from application to job offer, how that typically works with your organization, and what the time frame is too. So when students are about to graduate, maybe how far in advance they should start applying so that they could be prepared.
Well, I can tell you as on behalf of the Secret Service, we've been trying to speed up the timeline because we're trying to do a large number of hiring as quickly as possible. But typically the process will last between 6 months to a year. And the way the application process works is when you do your first initial application, which is through USA Jobs, and we have a Secret Service .gov website where you can apply. When you apply on the initial application, we'll vet those, and from those individuals, we'll pick to choose to see who will proceed on to the next phase, which is the testing phase. So we'll set you up with a time slot with a contractor that we use. I think it's called VU, where they'll sit down and we'll take a test for about 2 hours. If you pass that test and they'll vet you again, and they see that you should proceed on, you'll sit down and you'll do a interview with 2 agents. So we'll ask you a series of questions about teamwork, your judgment, your integrity, a whole list of questions. If you pass that phase, and we've been seeing I'd say probably half the people will fail out for that phase. If you pass that phase, you'll go on to a security interview where you'll sit down with an agent and we'll have you complete what we call the old SF-86 form. If people that are in a former military in national security, you kind of know what that form is. It's a long, lengthy form. It's about 100 pages. We ask everything about your family, your travel history, your relatives. You fill out that form, you'll sit down, we'll do about a 3-hour interview with you. It's a security interview. If you pass that phase, you go on to what we call the polygraph phase, where you'll sit down with a polygrapher. It's pretty much an all-day event. That will ask you questions about basically your past, drug use, could be any criminal history that you had in the past, as well as national security questions. If you pass that phase, you'll do a medical review, which is basically we'll set you up with a doctor. You'll go to one of our physicians. They'll do a medical exam to see if you are physically able to do the job. If you pass that phase, we'll do a background investigation. Now, the background investigation will depend on the applicant, because if you lived in a number of different places or foreign countries or visited foreign countries, we have to actually go out and do the investigation at those various places where you live, where you worked, schools that you've attended, people that you know. So that's what takes the bulk of the time. And depending on if you move a lot, those may take longer than others. From that point on, after the background investigation, we'll do a home interview. We'll go out to your house. We'll talk with you, your spouse, your significant other, or your family member. And from there, we send all that information over to our headquarters, which is a hiring board. It's made up of our executives. And they pretty much will review the application as well as the background, all the information that's obtained. And from there, they're the ones that actually make the decision of who gets hired and who doesn't get hired. So that, in a nutshell, that's pretty much how the Secret Service does the hiring process and the length of time that it takes.
And do you suggest that students wait until their bachelor's degree is conferred before applying, or because of the length of time for the hiring process, do you consider applications that come in during their senior year?
So what we've been telling applicants is if it's within 6 months of you obtaining the bachelor's degree, you can go ahead and apply.
Okay.
Because by the time it goes through the process, then you should have it at that time. So before it goes to the hiring board.
Right. All right. Good to know. Thank you, Charlie. Anybody else?
Most of our positions are posted on Indeed.com as well as on our website, and it just varies based on the department. Like we have one of the positions that I mentioned, I think the male mentor position has been listed for a while, so we did have some delay in times for which we hired people because of COVID-19. What was mentioned earlier, I think by Courtney, if you have shown, if you've been a volunteer with us, even if you do an internship with us, that puts you ahead of the game as far as being possibly hired. We bring in a lot of our interns. One of our most recent hires within the department that I'm in, she did an internship with our office. So that increases, of course, your chances because of the level of familiarity we have with with other candidates. And with regard to internships, we bring them in at certain times based on when we do our New Workers Institute. So if anyone was wanting an internship in the fall, it would be good to get that application in now so that it could be processed and considered so that the August New Workers Institute, they can attend that and we can make all the assignments for the interns.
Great, thank you. Anybody else?
Sure. As far as VRC goes, I spoke earlier that, I've had desktop investigators and admin that are currently attending your guys' university and finishing up their degree while they're working for us. So it doesn't necessarily, they have to be graduate to come apply for us. They could be pretty close or already have their associates or something like that. And, we tend to try to work with the schedule so that they can finish up their courses. So, I mean, as far as our hiring process goes, I do like a initial phone screen is what I do. And, they apply for the position online at our website or again, like Indeed or Glassdoor or something like that. And I'll do an initial phone screen with them. After that, I do some online testing. It's like a 30-minute online test where you take like a typing test, a proofreading test, and a multitasking test. After that testing, if everything goes good, I set up times for web interviews. Then after web interviews, we kind of put people into background checks and then go from there and then set up for next training classes. And then they get hired and come to our training class and then we can start working in their departments. But that's kind of how our process works.